Hello and welcome back. I am Margaret Esfahani and I am here with Sister Shireen from Brahma Kumaris. Welcome, Shireen.
Hi, Margaret.
How are you today?
Good.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. So as we have just wrapped up Memory Track, there's a couple questions I have for Shireen. And, you know, this happens to me, sadly enough, on a regular basis, but sometimes I make mistakes. And you know, I will get frustrated, I'll get angry or upset, and so how do I reconcile that? How do I sort of, you know, I got frustrated in the car and I honked the horn and, you know, and it was too loud and too long and I shouldn't have done that, and you know, and then I felt bad afterwards. So how can I, you know, rectify that in my mind? I'm sorry, I know I did something wrong.
Right.
You know, I try not to do it again.
Right. It's our conscience, no? It's our conscience biting. And I had this experience where the internet wasn't working. And I was on the phone with someone with our internet company, and he kept saying this modem is supposed to have it was an additional line we had, and that modem is supposed to have a cord, like a power cord, and I kept telling him, no, it doesn't have a power cord. So I'm trying to describe it to him, and I was getting so frustrated. And I was thinking, calm down, because if I yell at him, I'm going to feel bad.
Right.
Because he wasn't listening. I was thinking, hell is so creative. Like, we never thought of, you know, having to be on the phone forever with internet companies, right?
Yes.
You didn't think frustration would come in that, in that situation. But anyway, so we are all in that situation, and that is our conscience.
Okay.
It's our conscience that tells us that something is right or wrong. Our conscience bites us. I like to use the word bite.
Okay.
Because it bites us, and so what happens is the conscience is that part of the soul where we know what is right and wrong inside, deep inside. We know what is right and wrong, and we know what is moral, you know, the moral code, so to speak. And it's the same for all human beings, actually. It's not dependent on you know, culture or nationality or things like that. Yes, because even though, let's say, in some countries it's okay to really ill-treat someone who doesn't, let's say, have money or a different thing, but really our conscience bites.
Right, I appreciate that when you say that, our conscience bites, because as I'm honking the horn, you know, is it really necessary? Then I feel bad, and so that feeling of feeling bad or happens to me a lot. I will overreact with my teenagers because of curfew or whatever, and in the big scheme of life, you know, 20 minutes late's not a big deal. But then I go to bed and I feel bad. Okay, he did come home late. It was only 20 minutes, but I flew off the handle. You know, so how can I sort of, I don't want to say forgive myself, if you will, for doing that, but sometimes I repeat the same mistake over and over again, and I'm one to admit my faults.
So let's first understand the conscience,
okay,
and then we can go into how we don't repeat mistakes. So to understand the conscience, we have to understand how it is connected or how it is linked with the intellect and with the mind.
Okay.
So the conscience is part of the intellect, because the intellect is the discerning part.
Correct.
Right? And so the conscience itself is part of the intellect. It's part of our innate ability to, you know, tell right from wrong for our own self, not for other people. We're not sitting in judgment of other people. It's for our own self that we have this ability.
Yes.
But what happens is the mind suppresses the conscience.
Okay. And explain that a little bit more. How does the mind sort of push the conscience away?
There are a few ways, like why it goes to sleep and how the mind suppresses the conscience. One of the things is one reason is we dwell too much on old issues.
Yes. Yes, unfortunately we do.
So it's not like, this call with this guy, because I've been on the phone with internet companies for a while now, and then they don't seem to be getting it right. And so it's not just him and his lack of understanding that was bothering me at that point. It was all of the additional issues that happened for 2 weeks now of the internet not working and me trying to explain something on the phone and them not getting.
Right. So is it just a series of events that was just frustrating over time?
Over time. But the poor guy doesn't know that. He
Right.
doesn't know that I've had 2 weeks of issues with internet companies. And so, but he's at the receiving end of it.
Correct.
And so, and it is because it's my mistake, no? It's my mistake. I'm still dwelling on those 2 weeks of issues.
Right.
And so that's one way the mind suppresses, and there are a couple of other ways, but that's one way, is that we really suppress our conscience.
And so we do that by just, like we talked about before, focusing on the negative instead of the positive or the solution that we need.
Yes.
And so
like in the case of your teenager, no?
Yes.
That you feel it was not just this 20 minutes. Like he must have repeatedly come home.
Yes, yes, he did.
Repeatedly come home
Yes.
late. And so it's like you're building it up.
Correct.
And so that build up. So the mind in that way suppresses. And there's several other, like 3 or 4 other ways that it suppresses. One is bad company.
Okay. And elaborate, please, on bad company.
A bad company is what I am ingesting, what I am being around. So nowadays, bad company comes in the form of a small handheld device called a phone.
Yes.
And so it's a digital bad company, because what am I taking in? So what am I keeping company with? What is my mind keeping company with?
Right.
So before it was I was keeping company with people, actually physically keeping company with people and things that were going on. But now I'm keeping company with just a very fast changing world.
Yes.
And so that's digital bad company, physical bad company. So that's another way that the mind suppresses the conscience.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense, because in today's world, we all have cell phones, but it's not just a cell phone. It's the access to a lot of unnecessary information.
Like a million WhatsApp messages, a million Facebook updates, and
Instagram and the Snapchat. Yeah, all of those.
Yes, and so what happens is, like, if you keep seeing all of this person did this on, Facebook, you post it, and that person did that, and I don't even want to get into the whole idea of Facebook right now, but
right. But the essence is that you're surrounding yourself with a lot of unnecessary or unhealthy company.
Yes.
And in today's world, that's just through a digital sense.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily physical, but it can be.
It can be. It can be.
Correct.
It can be physical also.
Okay. So another component as to why the
mind suppresses. And so the other one is that we tend to really be harsh with people. Somehow, like, there's a lack of tolerance.
Okay.
And like a few days ago, this happened in the center where someone new came to the center and everyone was meditating. There were about 40 people that were meditating, and this person kept just laughing. It's like the room is completely silent and this person kept laughing, right? And I was thinking, what should I do? Because I'm sitting in the back and ready to go do the session, and this person just kept laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. And I was thinking, let me just send her vibrations and see what will happen. Just for her to calm down. But interestingly, what happened is her calming down came in another form. Someone who was already sitting in meditation came up to her and was so sweet to her.
Very interesting.
She said, are you okay? And she said, I don't know what to expect. This is my first time meditating. I can't stop laughing. And so this lady just calmed her down, and she said, so she asked this lady, who are you? And the lady said, I'm just someone who cares about you. I don't teach here, I don't do any of those things. And she was so calm with this person.
Wow, right.
You know, and I was thinking, if someone was annoyed, like
Yes.
2-3 people around her and snapped at her,
Right.
that would bite their conscience.
Yes.
But the way this person responded, by just being tolerant, just spending time with her, by just making sure she was okay. And she said, if you really need to talk, we can go outside and talk so we don't bother other people.
Right.
And so they went outside, they spoke, they came back. She sat next to that person, and the rest of the session, she was wonderful.
Right. So, you know, I like the word tolerance, but also it's about being patient and understanding of other people's, you know, where I may interpret that sort of scenario that, oh, she's just being rude and not respectful of the rules, but where in fact maybe she was just extremely nervous to be in a situation and very uncomfortable in a situation she had never been in before, not knowing what to expect. And so the lady that helped her and made her feel calm and welcome was a sign of patience and
tolerance. Yes,
and accepting that maybe she's uncomfortable. It's not that she's being rude.
Yes, and you know, going back to this whole thing with the internet. So what happened was a technician came to help us with the internet, right? And I kept bombarding him with questions, and he was like, "Ma'am, I'm just a technician." I was like, "Oh, poor guy."
Yes.
Can I make it up to you with this cookie?
There, your conscience bit you back, right?
Right.
Yes, very good.
And so it's really important to pay heed that we don't bring old issues. We are patient, because in the long run, it's beneficial to us to be patient. It's not beneficial to the other person to be patient. Our conscience doesn't bite if I'm patient.
Well, and the interesting thing too is my conscience doesn't bite the other person. It bites me.
Right.
It doesn't. So the other person may not necessarily be impacted by my frustrations. And so I'm the one who has to be in charge of my conscience.
Right.
I have to be the one to manage how I am patient. And so with that being said, what's the last component you were talking about, how we
I was thinking in the time we have, if we could do a small meditation.
Terrific.
Because how do we activate the conscience?
Okay.
Because it's kind of dormant right now.
Okay.
And it every once in a while wakes up and tells us, "Hey, I'm here."
Right.
And this is how I'm biting you.
Yes.
But it's actually a very important component of our life. And if we really make friends with it, and it really helps.
Okay.
It really helps. It helps in bringing a peace. It helps in bringing so many things into our life.
Right.
And just like any friend, we have to make friends with our conscience. And just like any friend, how would you start a friendship? By conversing.
Correct. I was going to say hello.
Yes. So we say hello to the conscience, and we talk to it very peacefully.
Okay.
Hello, I acknowledge you're there. I know you're there. I know you're very subtle. I know that this is happening. And so I would like to bring you to the front and center of my life. I would like to make friends with you.
Yes. And so by recognizing the conscience, bringing it forward, then that helps us discern or use the intellect in a healthier manner.
Right.
And so is there a little brief exercise or meditation you wanted to share with us?
So it's again a conversation. So let's just relax and take a deep breath in and out. And just go within and connect with this abstract but very present entity in the soul called conscience. If it makes you feel better, give it a visual image. You could give it an image as light, or you could give it an image like a box. whatever, or a person. I like to look at it as light, the guiding light in my life. And say hello to it. Hello, conscience. I know you've been working in the background, but I would like to say hello to you right now. And I want us to be friends. I want you to be present in my life more in the foreground. And with that, with a very peaceful conversation, with saying hello and telling your conscience, I'll come back to you when I need you. I would really like you to be present in my life. And we come back to this room.
Wonderful, Shireen. I think that it's a great thing to introduce ourselves back to our conscience again, because then that will help us stop getting, or that's not the right word, but stop getting bit, if you will, by that conscience, by having it in the forefront. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Margaret.
I love it. It's terrific, and I look forward to continuing Soul Fitness. Thank you.